crack? You're very welcome to another episode of the From the Depths podcast. As always, my name is Emmett, and you are very, very welcome to another episode of the show. So, as soon as a lot of you are going to read the title, you'll be like, finally, fucking finally. If you're reading the title and you're confused, you're probably thinking, what the fuck's a Tubbs? Tubbs is my old man, Tubbs is my dad, and my dad is a character and a half, and a lot of people have been asking for a very long time for me to have him on the podcast or the radio show in some form, some capacity. And when I say people have been asking for that for a few years, I'm not shitting you. I've been involved in college radio in some form or another, weirdly enough, since I finished up in since my last year in secondary school, since I was in Leaving Cert. I did a short-lived program for Clare FM with Clare Youth Service. I did a show called Livewire when I was in NCFE. I did a Livewire for a year with a mate Caleb when I was in LIT the first time studying music, and as well when I started the show From the Depths, which is the namesake of the podcast. People were asking me, get Tubbs on. We want to hear what Tubbs has to say. We want to hear what Tubbs wants to play. Do you know what I mean? All the time. I genuinely, until today, until putting out this podcast, I would get a message from someone saying at least once every 2 weeks. And I'm delighted to say, finally got one in the can. And you know something? I think it was worth the wait. I think having Dan on a podcast is way better than having him on a radio show where we can't curse and there's music in between. This is the type of environment suits Tubbs a lot better. And you're probably thinking, geez, you're hyping him up a lot. If you don't know him, you're going to get a good kick out of this. My old lad's a gas man, and he's been everywhere and anywhere. He's a gas man. He's been to gigs over in the UK, and he's seen everyone there is to see and all that crack. And his record collection is huge. I'm looking at 2 boxes of it here. Genuinely, the man owns about 300 records and vinyl, a couple of hundred CDs as well. He's always slagging me, calling me an anorak because I'm a bit of a trivia nut when it comes to music, but the man is genuinely like an anorak and a hoarder when it comes to albums and stuff like that. Yeah. Really, really delighted to have down an episode of the podcast. I know you guys are going to enjoy this. I think as well it'd be kind of remiss of me not to give kind of a blanket kind of synopsis as to what the podcast is, because there's probably a few of you that know my Ola that are hopping on, and this is probably your first time hopping onto the podcast. So basically, From the Depths, what you're listening to now is a weekly hard rock heavy metal podcast. I put these out once a week, and the premise of it is very simple. I chat away with people about music. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes I'm here chatting by myself about music. But you're guaranteed a new podcast every Friday. That's a new thing as well, actually. The podcasts are coming out on Friday now as opposed to Monday. It's just easier for me to get them done that way. And yeah, I basically, we haven't gotten to do like every type of episode so far. So some episodes are going to be me interviewing people. Some episodes are going to be me ranting about a particular topic. Some episodes might be myself and a guest ranking our favourite albums by a particular band. We might do like we might rank our favourite albums by Black Sabbath or by Thin Lizzy or something like that. And yeah, it's just it's basically a bit of crack. That's the way I view it anyway. It's a bit of crack. It's an excuse for me to talk with people about music again. And it's been going great so far. I'm nearly certain this is episode 10. I could be wrong, could be episode 9. But yeah, we're just over 3 months into the podcast now. And yeah, it's been savage crack. Guests in the past, you can find all the old episodes as well on Spotify and YouTube. The only episode that's missing off of YouTube is my interview with Mr. Eric Bill of Thin Lizzy. You can find that on the Spotify page as well. You don't need to have a Spotify account to listen to that interview. As well as that, if you can find us on Acast, all the episodes there too. So there's loads of means of finding the old episodes of the show. Like I said, there's a new episode every Friday. And as well as that, if you'd like to keep up to date with the podcast, the easiest way to do so is by liking us on Facebook. If you look up From the Depths Metal Radio, you'll find us there. And if you're on Instagram, just simply look up From the Depths Metal and you'll find us there as well. As well as that, the podcast is basically me just talking about music with people for about an hour or two every week. I also host a weekly radio show for a Limerick radio station named Wired 99.9 FM, and it's Limerick's only fully licensed student radio station. And basically that show is simply titled From the Depths. It's the namesake of this podcast. It's where the podcast came from. It's where it originated from. And basically, it's the opposite of this podcast. I don't talk about music for an hour or so. I actually just play music for an hour or so. So it's basically me just sitting down, playing what I've been listening to throughout the week and chatting away to myself for a little bit about metal and stuff like that too. So yeah, that is basically what From the Depths is. And I've given a brief of what Booming Brigade's going to be. Told you my old lad's mad. I did the housekeeping. Okay, we're all good. The only thing I need to say to you before this interview starts as well You probably never noticed this before, but well, you wouldn't notice it because you listen to it. The microphones that I use on my end are condenser mics, and they're not omnidirectional mics, meaning that if you talk way to the left like this or way to the right like this, you can't hear what someone is saying and stuff like that. Me and my outlet sat down, we had a few cans, and we were chatting away. As naturally it would happen, he moved from left to right, and there is points at this where his level is a lot lower than mine. I've done my best to EQ it as best I can. But yeah, if you're having it, I would recommend listening to this one in headphones. I've not gotten a chance to play it through speakers. Time was a little tight with editing this week's one. But if there is any issues, if you can't hear it through a loudspeaker and stuff like that, if it's too piercing or anything like that, listen to the headphones. I had no issues listening to it in headphones. But sure, look, it is what it is. It is listenable. The audio quality is grand, everything like that. It's just one level is louder than another, and it's just because the mics aren't omnidirectional mics. Most of you probably wouldn't even pick up on that listening to it now, and I mean that in the nicest way, like, do you know what I mean? I'm just a bit nitpicky like that. Anyway, enough of me rambling and ranting. Here is the first ever Boomer Brigade episode of From the Depths, featuring Mr. Alan Tubbsy Casey. Enjoy. Alright, what is the crack? You're listening to another episode of the From the Depths podcast. As always, my name is Emmett, and you're very welcome to a special debut segment on the show called Boomer Brigade, where we get an older gentleman or missus from the Irish metal scene and we hound them a small bit about gigs in the past, record buying, and all that kind of crack we weren't around for, and all that kind of crack. Anyway, I'm rambling. Tubbs Casey, how are you? You well? A fella that a lot of people have been asking to be involved in some way since the show even began, since the radio show began all the way back in 2019. People have been asking for you to be on in some capacity now. So I'd say there's going to be a lot of happy heads in the come on. Do you want to get a small bit closer to that just so I can hear you a bit better?
Okay.
That's perfect stuff. Alright. So yeah, we're sitting down as the paddies there, we're having a drink and we're going chatting away about records and all that type of crack. One thing I've never asked you before in the 24 years that I've been living in your house. What was the first metal or hard rock record you ever bought?
Oh my god, let me think. It was probably Rainbow Rising, I'd say, Below the Rack.
That hardly.
You see, before we bought records and that, we used to always borrow off people, and we'd make tapes off the radio as well. God, it sounds terrible. Yeah, but we did, like, you know, because I mean, like, we weren't working, we were still at school and that. And like, you know, if you got to listen to a Sabbath album or something, like, jeez, that was a big deal, like, you know.
Yeah, and who would have turned you on to all that kind of crack?
God,
because it wouldn't have been on the radio.
Great influences.
Yeah.
Like, going back, we had the Falks, we had Archie Meany, Shawnee Malay, Paul Hayes, people like that. You know, Jerry Malay, look at there was a great myriad of people around town that were following music, that were making music, and they supported it, like, because town was a lot different going back 30, 40 years ago with the Banner Arms as well, and there was a great collection of musicians there on and off, like, you know. And people would swap over, someone would be doing a bit of country and western, then they'd be doing a bit of rock and roll, they could be doing a wedding gig, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they all swapped around, like, you know, it was a small little community within the community, it was great.
Yeah.
You know, we used to all enjoy it, like, going to the West County and Jackie Hanrahan saying, you can't come in now, call back in a while. Because the phone will be up around your eyebrows.
Well, come here to me, because you mentioned it. You always romanticize the shit out of the Banner Arms.
The Banner Arms was
we just give people an insight to what that was.
Banner Arms was just an ordinary pub, ordinary people, and they like music, soccer, and pool.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, the seeds were set there at some stage along. I can't even remember now exactly, so I'm not going to waffle it. No, but Johnny Malay in the last year were doing gigs, bush planting that, and then it kind of got its own legs. They had Davy Spillane there, they had other people, you know. They had a couple of bands from Dublin and that. They had Mary Stokes there in the late 80s, I suppose, early 90s and that. Like, you know, there was a nice little vibe going on there, like, you know.
And were these weekly things that were going on?
Yeah,
or
some of them were weekly, some of them were fortnightly. Independent like, there was a healthier gig scene back then. Obviously, with no COVID-19 and people moved around. Like, people would go to Dublin, Limerick and Cork. You know, Galway, then you had the Roisin, Duff and that, like, you know, and you had Leisureland would do gigs above there as well. We wouldn't have been the best town for international gigs, like, you know, but we had a couple back in the day.
Yeah, someone said to me before that an early incarnation of Lizzie played. Do you know that place across in the Queens? It's like a community hall now.
Over near the Friary Hall.
Yeah.
I believe they played there, and U2 played out in the Ross Level before they were officially U2.
Out
No,
in
the
Ross.
Ross 11, what you know of it now, it's completely different back then.
Yeah.
But they gigged out there back in, God, I suppose it's the late 70s.
How were you at them? Were you at either of those?
No, I don't even think I had my junior certain. Sneaking out the back window.
But going back to what I asked you at the start, right? You were mentioned there about swapping records and stuff like that, and like, you know, a lot of that stuff, you know, exceptions now with like Lizzie and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff wasn't on the radio. Who was it that turned you on to that stuff in the first place? You remember like the first
Well,
time
you see,
hearing?
when I started off kind of really listening to music, I came from a house of Kjol, as in Kelly music. My mother and father had knocked the shite out of the floor on a Sunday morning with their own dancing sets in there. Do you know? I suppose I was the dark child. No, but I mean, in fairness, I would say when you had 2FM back in '79 and that, you had the likes of Brendan Balfe, you had all the other ones there as well, Dave Fanning and all them. But Brendan Balfe, I used to, originally before I got into metal, I love rock and roll.
Yeah.
I love Buddy Holly and stuff like that. Do you know? I suppose the roots of rock and roll, Bill Haley, all that kind of stuff. You know, I think it's everyone to their own. I was just drawn to that and rockabilly and stuff like that. I'd even go and say today a bit of Northern Soul and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? There's a nice little bit of everything. You know, and I mean, it made it interesting. Like, I wasn't a big reggae fan, but I couldn't say honestly that I didn't like reggae.
Yeah.
Because there's many different offshoots and stuff like that, and it's really good music as well.
You would have grown up at the time for that too, like when you.
Bob Marley and all that stuff, it was massive. Like,
Yeah,
it was
like
brilliant.
you would have been about it.
40, they were gigging here in the country.
Yeah.
That, like, you know, like there mightn't have been my big cup of tea and all that, but having said that, there were still a good gig to go to. Do you know what I mean? And all these gigs always had good support acts, whether they were local for that, like, you know. So it was always worth an ear for, like, you know.
Like you were 10 or 12 when all of that, like the ska stuff and the punk stuff started. 'Cause that was all around 77.
14 or 15 around that. For
Yeah.
me, like we say, when 79 onwards, you had punk as well, like, you know. Like I would have been into Motorhead, I would have been into being, we say, Horselips, stuff like that. Like, obviously, I had a big graph of the Horselips. They were our own Zeppelin in a way, like, you know. And you see, the thing about the Horselips was they were kind of, their music was always around the place in ads and stuff like that, like, you know. And it was used as cover tunes for some radio programs and stuff like that back in the day.
Yeah. Did you get to see him with that original run?
No, I didn't get to see him until we went to see him in 2009. I was waiting my whole life. Why do you think my father was near my eye that night? Seriously, though, do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that was just brilliant. That was like when we went up to see the Blue Oyster Cult, myself and your sister. Like
That was
a
brilliant.
buzz and a half. Like, do you know what I mean?
I didn't appreciate the Horselips one enough. I was only 12.
You were in youthful, I mean, but in fairness, it was just for the experience, it was worth anything. Like,
that's it, and it's gas because all the time since they started doing gigs again around that time, and like they've sporadically done stuff like once in a while. And I wanted to see him with, like you remember Brian that was up here before we went to Zoe's thing a few months ago. He went with the Zow lad to see him in 2014 in the Milk Market in Limerick of all places. And then like they were meant to be doing the Olympia in late 2019. That got rescheduled because of a health thing. Then it was moved to Paddy's Day last year. Then COVID hit. So it seems ever since that
kind
then
of increased everyone. Like, you know, all the gigs are suffering. All the musicians are suffering more.
Yeah.
You know, because they all have to make a few bucks. Like, you know.
Yeah. What was for you now? Because we touched on the record buying a small bit and all that kind of crack. Do you remember the first hard rock and metal gig you ever went to? Because you went to, you always went to a few of them. Like, yeah.
I remember Peter Dilger asking me to go to the Hospice one Sunday night, and I couldn't go because I wasn't old enough to go in there. So that's a lifetime ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you were always just a bit under the radar, but you couldn't walk. Well, I'd have got away with it probably because I had a bit of a schmeag, like. But at the same token, I probably got roasted. Like, you know, somebody tell my father didn't need drive the bus. Oh, we met your young fella at the gig the other night, and you know, do you know what I mean? Like, things are different, like. But I mean, in a good way too. Like, you know, things are a little bit stricter, like. But I mean, the only place you could buy records in this was Baker's, and I'm because that's gone back a while. Baker's have gone a long time now. They were down on Abbey Street. I suppose over around on O'Brien's there as well. We say there where Cassidy's Chemists. There was a television shop there. You released televisions and stuff. I think they used to do records there as well. Keens, they were on Abbey Street as well. But I suppose Dave Woodford was our saviour, so he was like, you know.
Yeah, Jesus, big time.
You know, because I mean, Jay's a bit of a lost without him, like, because I mean, I'd say at least 90% of my record collection was bought there, or near enough to, like, you know.
Yeah, a lot of them
Buying
still
off
have
other
the
people.
stickers on them upstairs.
Oh yeah, I never took the stickers off them, like, you know. But I mean, it's different now. You're kind of spoiled for choice. You've got Spotify. You've got lads in there who are dealing stuff that they have since the 80s. They haven't got the room for them anymore, and a lot of them are downloading them onto hard drives and that, like, which kind of takes the romance away from vinyl and stuff like that as well. Because, you know, it's like poor old Martin Birch. He died there 2 or 3 years ago. Like,
Oh no, that was last year.
Was it last year?
That was only last year, yeah.
Mixed up with someone else now, but at the same token, all the albums he produced for Maiden and other bands back, I suppose back from the 70s up along, like a lot of the rock bands and that, like, you know, he's handing a few pots, like, which was great, like, you know.
He weird that you mentioned him now. Like, you mentioned that Rainbow Rising was probably one of the first hard rock and metal albums you ever bought. He produced that as well. He put, like, nearly, if you list off the biggest like metal and hard rock albums of the 80s, he had some involvement in them.
Did a bit of release and stuff like that as well, like, you know.
Yeah, bit with Maiden and everything like that as well. He was actually involved in quite a lot of Maiden records as well in some capacity. Yeah. But what was that first gig though? That after, do you know? Because I know there was a few bits you were too young to get into them. You had to wait outside.
That was a killer. That was a killer, like, you know.
Was that Mama's Boys or was that
No,
Rory?
Mama's Boys was in 81, below the West County. I was old enough to get into that.
Yeah.
I was working as well. I suppose it made a big difference. So I was able to get myself down there without being subsidised. That's important too, like, you know. But that would have been one of them. Like, we were in the TV club a couple of times. The one that comes to mind now is Julie John Knott. We went up there to see him. We got barred. Well, I got barred from MCD gigs for. I
was going to ask you this. What was the cause for that you got barred? Because I've actually heard that story from 3 different people, and the 3 different stories are wrong.
We were trying to get everyone together, and we were all a bit Killarney, and I was doing a lot of roaring and trying to herd people. Say, we're up here. And the doorman didn't appreciate my hollering and saying.
That's not the one I was told. Yeah.
Dave Woodford, I wouldn't be going to MCD gigs now because he did the coffee and ale there that you went through, so he did, which was kind of important. Like, there was no punch-ups or anything like that. Like, but I mean, I kind of did need a bailout there, and fair play to him. You know, he was good
he seemed to organise all that crap. He organised the buses and all that crap, like, do you know what I mean?
It depended, like, you know, because you could have, you see, Dave didn't just do rock gigs and that. He could have someone gone up there to see some country western crowd above and that, like, but that'll be later on. Like if I'm dealing with, say, from what, the 80s up until, I suppose, the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, we would have hired most of our own buses and worked out ourselves. Like you think you make a few quid in it, you wouldn't really, because there was always some geezer that was left behind unintentionally. He probably met up with someone in the Rospoppel spit or something. And we'd learn and say, Jesus, he'll find his own way home. Like, you know, left the label there, like, you know, and that didn't work out well. And his mother would ring our house and say, where's so and so? And I say, well, he met this lady above in Dublin. He may not be coming home.
Oh, he's with your daughter-in-law now, like the new one. You haven't met her yet.
Yeah. She's lovely.
No, because, like, I was told that story about the Uli John Roth thing. I was told it.
God, it was a crazy day.
I was told it at your 50th. I was told it at the Diamond Head gig there about, Jesus, that's 5 years ago now nearly. And the first time I was told that story, someone told me that, like, Uli had a giant lit at the end of that or a fag lit at the end of his guitar.
He probably had. Look, this guy was working for NASA. He was out there, like.
Oh yeah.
He was a brilliant guitarist, like, but he did his own thing.
But someone had said to me that you took the fag off the top of the guitar.
That's a total fabrication sort of. Don't mind that. That's only someone having their own little bit of.
I kind of wanted that version to be true, because just the image you know with that mullet from the 80s booted.
You couldn't do things like that. There was things you could do back then, but you can't do them now. They're not politically correct or otherwise.
But was that was like that? From what I heard, that was stage level. You were very close to it.
Shoulder up of us, like, you know, this about that height, like, and it was grand. The sound was excellent.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like, you know, I mean, I wouldn't go to see him all the time, but I would check him out. Like, he's a great musician, but it was actually a good gig. And
you'd be playing the Scorpion songs you want to hear as well. Do you know what I mean? There'd be none of that kind of like late. But obviously at the time it wouldn't have been that later 80s stuff, like, do you know what I mean? But, do you know, you're getting like the Sails of Shower on, and, do you know, at that type of era, Scorpions. That's what you want as well, like, do you know what I mean? When you're seeing Yuli, he's been doing some fucking weird gigs though over the last like 20 odd years though. He's been doing gigs with orchestras and all that type of shit as well.
Doing that now, like, I mean, there's all stuff there, and they're bringing in orchestras, and you know, some of it is really good. Okay, there'll always be that, oh God, no. I mean, Metallica did it. It was brilliant. No, it wasn't everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
There's let me just think of one or two others there. Like the Scorpions have done it there. They did it with the Berlin Philharmonic as well. Rocking like a hurricane and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Lovely music to listen to. Sometimes it's got a nicer edge to it. Like if you're putting a combination together there, you know, for out walking or something, you can work on stuff like that. I kind of like that. I like some of the Wish stuff as well. Like, you know, which isn't everyone's cup of tea. It's very kind of operatic and that, but some of it is good.
I saw them now when I went over to Bloodstock that time, and
what did you think of them?
when you see them live, you get it a bit more. I don't like them on record though. That's the thing. I don't like listen. And it sounds like a stupid thing. When you see them live, you get it more, I think. But I wouldn't.
There's one thing they need to leave alone, and that's over the hills and far away. It's just like eating something that doesn't taste nice. But let's look at the thing, and that's just our own opinion on that. Like, you know, I prefer the original version of it. Like, you know.
Ah, that's fair.
I'd be a bit of a diehard that way. Like, you know. Like, I mean, there's a lot of new stuff I want. It isn't that I won't listen to. It just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah. Like what now?
Like some of the stuff. This I mean, what's all that about it? That's someone that didn't have a nice childhood or something. He's just trying to let everyone know about it. But he gets paid for not having a nice childhood.
But you know what, that in itself now, that's a strange one I noticed now about the contrast between what you listen to and what I listen to. Because
but I'd be very old school, like, do you know what I mean?
No,
I love my Zeppelin and stuff like
I'd nearly say you aren't, because there's bands now, they're not new anymore, but they'd be newer than a lot of stuff I'd listen to. And you would have an open ear for them, I wouldn't. Disturbed is one of those bands. You like Disturbed. I
like some of their stuff.
I can't get that at all.
Your band's a brilliant singer. They're a great band. They have a nice tight unit, like, you know, they're good musicians. They can live, they can pelt it out, and I think that's the makings of a band.
Yeah.
If they can do it live, you can do what you want in the studio. Just easily patch it up and overdub it and the whole lot.
Yeah.
But it's when you can produce that out there in front of someone that's paying bucks to see it. They'll come back and say, look, this is shit hot, I recommend them to you. And that's how it is.
Yep.
That's the best way to find out about music, is talk to someone else.
Yeah, that's
you know, if you can't get to listen, to talk to someone and say, listen, you want such a gig.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you do it. Like,
sure, that's why we're here doing this. Do you know what I mean? I said this. I've said this probably one or two episodes of the podcast. That the whole purpose of this is, do you know, when you be at gigs, and let's say if you let's say you and Rabbit now at Diamond Head, you lost them, can't recognize anyone that's there, and you ended up talking to some random fucker in the corner like this.
You'll always meet someone, right? You'll meet someone that knows too much, that kind of way.
Yeah.
Like an encyclopedia, or as Rabbit would say, a bloody anorak. But even at that, like, you know, I think it's great. Okay, some people like to take it in small bites, and some people just can't consume enough of, like, the Encyclopedia Britannica, like, you know. Now, like, I suppose it's like everything else. Like, music is totally evolving. Some people will pick up on some of the old stuff. Some of them will take it and do new stuff with it. Like, there's a couple of Tin Lizzy tracks there that have been completely redone or redo, whatever you want to say. You know, you've seen them there on ads there, like, you know, like Dancing in the Moonlight and stuff. That look at, it's a testament to the song. It doesn't matter what way it's done. It's still very listenable, and it's lovely. And I think that's what people likes. Like, you know, there's a little bit of romance is still there with the track. Yeah. They're not doing anything crazy to, they're not turning into a house hit or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good music. Look at, always stands out.
Oh, that's it. And a lot of that stuff is timeless as well.
Oh, it is, of course. Without a doubt.
But that's what I was getting at there. Like, is I find it gas. Like, I'd look at not the record collection now, but your CDs more than anything. And like, I look at my own, right, and it's just like, you have more in your CD collection post the year 2000 than I have. All of my stuff, a lot of the stuff I have is like, I would have like the stuff that you were just saying there that you can't get, like, you know, the early Battery stuff and Venom and stuff like that at all. One thing I want to ask you, because you stay at loads of times, you don't like that, you don't like thrash metal and stuff like that.
I'm not a big fan of it. No, I'm not. I find
and that's
it
fair.
negative, like, you know.
But would you recall when that stuff would have started coming out around like 81, 82?
What gig were we at? We were above in the SFX. I was above it next to the lads. There's a good few of us in it. And Metallica were just starting to break it over here. Yeah. No, I thought they were too fast myself, personally.
Oh, you saw them?
No, I didn't see them. No, we were talking to the lads in Dublin.
Yeah.
Because obviously they would have had access to records, like, before we'd have gotten down our side of the country and that, like, but, you know, Metallica were starting to come in, like, and I think Tommy Vance was starting to play a little bit of them. Like, Tommy used to be on a Friday night, and we'd have the wireless on at home, but you'd have to wear headphones because when you turn the it down. And you'd be there, you could be listening to the bitches and singing or something. You know, oh my god, or Samson or someone like that, and you'd be saying, wow, this is great. Or the Tigers of Pantang, they were from above in the north. Like, they were good. They weren't outstanding, but they were good. Maybe that's not fair to say that. Like, it's each to their own. But like, there was another band kind of like them from up the Midlands there called Easy Meat. I've an LP above there. I don't know if it's an LP or an EP. I can't remember. It's a white covered album with Easy Meat on.
And this is an Irish band, Easy Meat.
Yeah, they're a 3-piece. They were in around the time of Mama's Boys. I don't know if they really made it. I can't remember now. I only have to go back and check it just to be on the safe side. But I think they brought out a couple of tracks, but they were played on the radio for. See, the only one that used to play a bit of the heavy stuff was, God bless him, was Larry Gogan.
Yeah.
Like, if Jerry Raymond was playing something there, he'd say, "Here's a bit of Black Sabbath," and just put the old washing machine, plug it into the amp, and away you go. He'd be taking the mickey, And of course, some of us would take umbrage and kind of say, "Well, fuck you anyway," But sure, that's the way it was, because I suppose there's a bit of a tribal thing as well,
But that's the whole reason I ask you about that, because, even, the whole thing with rock music at that time, right, between, 75 and 85, is, and I don't think, retrospectively now, do you know what I mean, it's easy to look back on it and be like, oh, punk happened this year, and then, New of them happened this year, and, you had the first black metal album this year.
I don't think people knew New of them was happening.
No, but see, that's the thing.
It just crept up on you,
That was why I was going
like a reboot.
Yeah, that was why I was going asking you, because, people, we're getting used to, how, punk was, this big, huge thing when it happened.
Yeah.
And Sam...
It was very raw and energetic as well.
Yeah. But the thing, that was what I was going to ask you then, is hearing those early records from the likes of, because Venom were a big thing over here, loads of people like Venom and stuff like that. Same with Slayer when the first Slayer albums came out. Do you remember, hearing that stuff for the first time? Because there's a big contrast between New of them and that,
did, and like I said, it just didn't do anything for me, do you know? But having said that, each to their own, but I mean, they've stood the test of time, and so have Testament and other bands like that.
Yeah,
and they thought they were a flash in the pan for maybe 4 or 5 albums, and they've held their own. Fair play to them.
Yeah, that's one thing.
But then again, there was a generation coming across a generation as well. You'd have lads my age now, and they'd be into some really mad stuff. I suppose I'm very old school in a lot of respects, because I could jump onto a bit of Gallagher there, and I could go back into the blues, and stuff like that. I could go through a week there, and I might listen to nothing but blues. And then I could get a week there, and I could be listening to a load of new stuff from all over the place, and I could be listening to the 2 women there from the States, Lark and Poe. I like that kind of stuff as well, and they're good.
Yeah, you do have a broad taste in music though, because
I do compared to what I used to have, you know, and I mean, I still like a bit of trad in that, which is a love bit of trad, and I love it with the G it up as well. Yeah, a bit of rock trad as well. That's why I suppose the horse tips, they're penultimate. There's lots of other kind of progressive trad rock. Something I don't follow very close. There's probably a lot more stuff on, we'll say, the likes of YouTube. If you like Scottish music as well. Scottish music is fabulous as well as Irish music.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is rocked up, and it's quite excellent. It might never get into the top 20, but it's great listening. There's lots of stuff there. There's bands there from Los Angeles and even Japan. Japan are great for mimicking punk bands and stuff like that. They have their own scene going, because there's a couple of million of them out there that they all get into, do you know what I mean?
It's one of the biggest music markets in the world, and people don't recognise that at all.
I mean, they even make their own music videos now. They can go and take garage there, and it's as good as what you get doing any place else.
Yeah, it's not worth their time if you're if you're an Asian artist. It's not worth your time being breaking Western, breaking into Western
their
side.
own market is
it's
more than sufficient for them.
100%. There was actually a band. Do you remember we were watching those Metal Mythos things? Do you remember with the sunglasses and stuff?
Oh yeah, the fella that I fell asleep listening to.
That's it.
It's not his fault. I'm getting old.
He did one on a Japanese band recently. I only found this there about 2 or 3 days ago about a Japanese. No, it's a band called, I don't want to get this wrong now. Oh, was it Autograph? I can't remember. It was something like Autograph anyway. Yeah. But they're together since the really early 80s. And they've only signed their first Western.
Loudness,
no, it definitely wasn't Loudness. Do you know something? I look it up now while I'm talking about it. But these lads were together for about 30 years, right? And they're they didn't need to break into 1 second now, where is this joke? We'll find in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm nearly certain it was autographed, but I could have that wrong. Yeah, they were together for like 30, 40 years. Never brought never tried to break into like the Western charts
They
or anything.
probably
This
didn't need to because we're probably
no,
making enough revenue on their own.
that was it.
You know, on the Pacific Rim or whatever, like, you know.
That was it. Like they were
Like,
absolutely huge. Like.
Market than what we, like, the Irish music market is so small. You'd often wonder why the likes of Sony or even here.
Oh God, yeah.
Do you know, only for U2 and Windmill Studios and places like that. Like, there'd be nothing happening here. That's why most Irish bands have to go to London.
Yeah, but they're better off anyway, because like there's nothing here. Like,
I know, but there should be something here to hold them. Like, you know, there should be some incentive. But to see the gig circuit is in the UK and the continent.
Yeah.
Like Rory Gallagher will probably make his revenue touring the continent during the summer. He'd do all of Germany, Holland, probably Spain and Portugal. Do you know what I mean? Denmark, he'd do the northern countries, Norway, blah, blah, blah. He had a great legion of fans. Do you know,
particularly in Germany. He was huge in Germany.
Massive, and the Dutch were mad about him too.
The thing is with the Irish, the way they kind of like the Irish kind of, I don't want to say music scene as a whole, but from talking to people about it in the past and everything like that, the thing is, it's like if you're a commercial artist and you want it to be your job and everything like that, the market isn't there because the island is so small.
Yeah, you have to go to London.
we don't get quite a lot of like there's big artists that don't come to Ireland because it's not worth their time and money.
No,
like, and I don't mean like top tier artists or anything like that.
No, but you see, they haven't got the venues. Or you see, the biggest problem in this country is everything we want to see. We're west. We have to get in a train or a car and go to Dublin. It costs us, like the ticket might only cost me say $50, but there's another $300 spent there
Between accommodation, travel,
so that
yeah.
every time you go to a gig, that's costing you.
And then you can't work those days either, so you're losing at wages. So that's
You see, a
another
lot
thing,
of gigs turn up during the week, maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It's brilliant if you live in Dublin.
Yeah.
Because you're not going for a pint during the week. You say, I'll go to a gig. Because I'm not going out next weekend. And it's great. You have X, Y, and Z you can go to see, like, you know, and it's great. I mean, like, when you got up to Diamond Hill there, like, that's a perfect place there. It's a lovely place for a gig.
Isn't that so strange though that like we saw them in Fibbers, I'd say 80 people at the most, and then they played Dolan's about 200 people less than 2 years later. Like they weren't on they weren't on a good label at the time. They were with
even at that, like, you know, God Almighty, they're kind of, they're back down the day, like, and you know, it's kind of tough. But it's a bit kind of like Magnum as well. Magnum never made it massive, but yet they have great commercial records. You know, but they're not everyone's cup of tea. I like them. I liked them for the next 35 years or whatever. Like, you know,
a lot of the time when that happens, though, it's not even down to bad management or anything else. It's just bad luck.
But you see, times change as well. People have ears for different things as well. Like, you know, it's not always the same. It's different when you're growing up. You kind of you get into something and you like it, to say, hey, yeah, and then you get to my age and you might be going a different direction musically, like, you know. Or you just might be broadening your horizons. You might say, yeah, like there's a lot of American bands that we've never heard of and they're brilliant.
Yeah.
Some of them might be just blues bands, heavy blues bands and that. And you say, Jesus, these guys should have a big thing. But there's over 200 million people in the States. And they might be brilliant down in Louisiana and down south. And they might go over to the West Coast and just might do it all from, like, you know.
Yeah.
And country western is massive in the States as well. Like, when you've got country rock. Big market there for that as well.
Big market for it here as well. Like they
massive,
have that.
Massive.
They have that thing in the they normally have that thing in the Three Arena every year. What's it? It's called like the All Ireland Country Road Show or something. But they'll sell out the Three Arena. Well, no, they'd sell that out. There'd be about, Jesus, what's the capacity of the Three Arena? It's definitely
about 14,000, I'd say. Is it?
Is it? It would, yeah.
To be around there. Couldn't be any more.
Yeah. No, with standing and sitting, and you know something.
Sure, the standing area is huge, like.
Yeah. It's a nice old
spot. You
spot.
don't notice it half the time. Like, we're above at Sabbath there now. You just see it there. So, wow, you're way up here someplace. Like,
yeah.
you know?
That was a good gig. I wasn't too happy with the drum solo in the middle though. What was that, like fucking half?
That was giving
20
the lads
minutes.
a chance to go to the bog in the ocean.
But we could see him
just
at
like
the
people on the West County, some fella be there and be playing the organ with the memories. And his other fella be playing the drums, and the three of them be going off for a quick pint in the dump or something like that. And then they come back out and they're all fresh and they're ready to go, like, you know. And they bait into Bohemian Rhapsody and a few other tracks there for 20 minutes. And we're all going home, the steam rising off us like bullocks, like, you know.
One thing I need to ask you as well now, because I think about this I don't think about it that often, right?
Are you losing sleep over I hope not.
I'm always send help. We always hear and stuff like that about how metal was like. It wasn't non-existent in the 90s, but it wasn't as prevalent compared to the 80s, and it would have been very impossible to be. I know you had Pantera and stuff like that,
Yeah,
but
but you had like Def Leppard, and you see they came in there with no of them as well, and they were different. They were seriously technical.
Yeah.
But they could produce it, because I mean, I saw him below in Limerick there on the Savoy, and I saw Michael Schenker down there. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. That was after Rick Allen now got the new drum kit, like, you know, it was all 1 arm and 2 feet, like. And
you saw him on the warm-up tour, actually, before they went into the world tour. Then after that,
that was a warm-up from. Was that 97? I can't remember now.
No, it'd have been earlier than that.
Maybe it was 87, 88. I'm not sure.
That was. Jesus, when was that? Because I know that one of their guitar players died in 1990.
That's right.
Jesus, what was his name? He looked, God.
Yeah, but I think he was.
Oh, he was an alcoholic. He was on and again, off
again. He was
again.
an excellent guitarist, like, and a sound skin by all accounts. Like, but that's rock and roll, isn't it? That's what happens.
Yeah, he was the one who got your man. Is it Phil Collin? Is the name of their other guitarist? Yeah, he got him. He was the reason he got sober. He's a health freak now since that. He's a health freak for nearly 40 years now. Well, no, 30 years. But the question I was going to ask you was like, you know, outside of like Central Europe during the 90s, they had like, you know, all the death metal and black metal and stuff like that going on. There wasn't that much of it here. Like, you know, there was obviously small.
It's creeping in by degrees. Everything goes, it always finds its way, like, you know.
Did you find it harder to find new albums during the 90s though? Because you had kids as well during the 90s. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's you had 2 out of the 3 of the 90s. You know,
that album collection. Get down to the shop and get nappies.
But you know, like Dave was still up during the 90s and stuff.
Dave was tipping away, but you see, there was people coming up behind us as well that had their own taste in music as well, like, you know, house and whatever else was going on, Manchester scene, all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of stuff going on. Some of it was good, some of it was crap.
Did you ever get into any of that, the Manchester stuff?
Not really, no.
It's hit or miss. I like the Happy Mondays and stuff like that now, but the Manchester rock bands aren't bad. Like, you have the Smiths and
I know, but that wouldn't be my cup of tea.
No. I can get why. Do you know, I think I'm the only person in this house I think I'm the only person in Clare that actually likes him. Anytime I mention him, I get shit for it straight away. Like, do you know what I mean?
Don't worry about it. That happens. You're all the shit, Still got that.
But where did, like, because I remember this was the first time I heard Tony Martin, anything about Tony Martin being in Black Sabbath was because of you. We were in the sitting room. I want to say this was probably 6-7 years ago. And Scuzz was on After Midnight. And Scuzz had the weirdest videos on After Midnight.
Jesus, yeah, they did.
They'd like, it'd either be a major throwback or just be some throwaway Band with the Fringe from, like, you know, Liverpool or something.
A couple of Old Faithfuls thrown in there for 15, 20 minutes, whatever the case may be.
But that was, I remember the video for Headless Cross came on, and because of the way that Sharon Osbourne has it at the moment, where it's just like, you know, there was Dio, there was Ozzy, there was no one else in Sabbath. You know,
this bullshit. Like,
total bullshit.
Because, I mean, Iommi made money on them tours with your man, because he was an excellent vocalist. I don't care what anyone says. He's arguably their best. Ian Gillan sang with Black Sabbath.
Yeah, people
Born
don't
Again. I saw that gig.
Oh yeah,
up in Daly Mountain 83.
That's actually, forget my question. That's one we need to talk about. That lineup is like Anvil. What was it?
Anvil, the best losers in the world. I still like them. I love them.
But like, there was them. Twisted Sister were on that bill.
Twisted Sister done their bit now. I mean, Dee Snider must be about 70 now.
No, he actually, his birthday was last week. 65 years of age.
Is he 65?
There's a year between.
He looks terrible without the makeup. Jesus, will you get some moisturizer?
There was, because him and Steve Harris are day apart, because Steve Harris turns 66 this week as well.
Yeah, and he's fresh for that. Like, he plays soccer all the time.
Oh, he does.
Mad into the soccer. Deep Purple semi, mad into the soccer.
Oh, Ian Gillan apparently had a bad gambling thing during the 90s over football. And I will believe it. He seems like the type of fuck that would, like, a proper geezer.
He owns a gambling house in New Orleans or something as well. I could be wrong.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to double check that. See, the thing is with like Gillan and Purple and all that. That's stuff that, like, do you know, you'd always be aware of it. I didn't actually start listening to Purple properly, like, head first into them, outside of, like, in rock until this year.
Killer Killeen got me into Purple. And Stephen Keane there from Clancy Park. Jesus Christ, Castlewood Park. Sorry, Stephen. I get the scene, I know. No, but he was a great drummer as well, Stephen Keane. Absolutely brilliant. Big Rush fan. You know, very good. totally intelligent guy. I'm saying that now with a sneaker, but he's as tough as boot nails. But I'll tell you, if he got something into his head, if he wanted to get a beat off, he went off and he got it. Do you know? They are the kind of musicians that, to me, I have great respect for. There'd be guys there that wouldn't be very musically articulate and they can make up for it because they'll practice. And I know guys that never played a drum in their life and they listen to country and western and bang, they were off. Dickie Casey, we used to listen to Led Zeppelin 3 Below across from Flanders in the filling station there. Peter O'Brien, God rest him, he's dead now, but myself, himself and his brother Brian would be beside. We must have played the guts out of the Led Zeppelin album and we critiqued everything in it. I don't think I looked at that album for about 10 years. We played it so much. But that's the thing. Like, we didn't have internet or mobile phones or shit like that, which was great. So you kind of had, you didn't wear blinkers. You kind of listened to a lot of stuff, which was great too.
Because you paid money to listen to it, so you'd have to re-listen to it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know, but you see, there was less interruptions. Like, when you have your homework done, even, like, we didn't have Walkmans until late in the 80s and that, But I mean, if you were going someplace there on a bus journey, like, geez, the Walkman was a great thing. You could just tape a couple of tracks there and fire it on there, and Jesus, you'd only be there by the time you've gone through what you want, and you normally have a bit of everything on it, You could have the Police, you could have, like, I'd have still a big fondness for AC/DC before Brian Johnson. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be like, no, I'd be a bit of a shithead when it comes to Motorhead, because I love the Bronze years.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying anything after that was bad. It was fucking brilliant too. But I'm just not as familiar with it because when you get married, you don't get to put the time in.
Yeah.
So you don't get as much out of it because, like, I even find myself there. If I'm on YouTube, I could be flipping through stuff. Like, I've gone back into the likes of Jethro Tull now and stuff like that. Love it. King's X there from Texas, 3-piece band as well. Gone back listening to a bit of Budgie. Hocus Pocus. Of course, I'm an awful prog head and someplace in the back there's an acid here or something because I just love old prog, yes, and stuff like that. Peter Gabriel, Genesis, even new Genesis.
I never copped that with you, the prog thing, until only recently. So maybe last 2 years. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a strange side of me. I don't know. And I have an album upstairs that you will not listen to. Chrome, Third from the Sun.
Third from the Sun.
Yeah. As in third.
You see,
that's your bloody mind, the way it's thinking. So brain.
I just imagined this fucking album cover with the shit around the moon.
Because they're freaked out, the hippies in New York decided to geek.
Yeah.
These guys are into electronics and all that kind of stuff. They're not Tangerine Dream, they're kind of darker and deeper stuff like. But I picked up the album below on the rack. Don't ask me why I bought it. I probably thought it was a metal album and I looked at it and said, Jesus, that must be mental. I went home and I played it and I was sad. It didn't do now for me.
Do you know what's gas that you mentioned Tangerine Dream? The what's it? That band Mayhem. I know you're not into them at all. The guitar player of them, Euronymous, was actually huge into Tangerine Dream. Tangerine Dream, to the best of my knowledge, was found in his apartment when they went there after he was murdered by Count Grishnock and stuff like that. They really romanticized the shit out of that. They made a film about that there 2 years ago. It's a terrible film, but
you watched it?
Oh yeah. Oh, they had, the trailer looked bad.
Watched terrible movies.
Says the man. If I come into the sitting room now. Just for context now for you listening, he'll be there. I'll come in on a Friday evening when the pubs were open. I could come in after a few pints for Friday, and like Mam and Lena might be going off to bed, and you'd be inside, and it'd be the Sci-Fi Channel, and it'd be one of those. I remember one of them was like it had like a Yeti in it.
Oh, but that was absolutely brutal. But I had to watch it. It was brutal. When I say it was brutal, that's with a capital B now. No small ones in this.
But the CG...
the guy that actually directed it should have been taken out and shot by someone. They should have fucking fed him to the pigs or something. It was brutal. But I had to watch it. I just had to see it. That could
be a podcast we could talk about now. Like, we could do that for a whole episode, talk about bad movies. When you went to bed last night, right? And I was.
No, I didn't go to bed last night. I didn't make up till 3 o'clock, and then I went to bed.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I was in the sitting room.
How are you doing that to yourself, Alan?
I was watching I saw there was a Steven Seagal movie on YouTube in full, and I was like,
Jesus Age.
I was in the mood. I was like, do you know something? I sit down and watch that. and there was the best scene ever. These two lads are talking in Japanese, and Steven Seagal now was like really overweight. He's like fake tan on. He has the beard dyed, and like they're
I
all.
just thought it was a latex suit he was wearing, but it's not. It's all his.
But they go like these two lads are there, and they're like, "Oh, what does you want on this guy?" And he just goes, "Hey, why don't you guys speak English?" Like that.
They're fucking Japanese, you grease bog.
But getting back to the topic of music and all that crack. So
there, excuse me.
the was the Daily Mount where that big gig happened.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Because you didn't grow up with the internet, that wouldn't have been advertised in newspapers, I'd assume.
Phoenix Magazine or something like that.
Yeah.
Or what's the other one? Something Express.
Oh, the New Musical Express.
Yeah, but there was an Irish version that I can't think of it. Oh God, I am getting senile.
Hot Press?
Hot Press, yeah, I think it was advertising that. It was advertised anyway. It could have been in one of the daily papers. Because I'll tell you why. When I found out it was on, we got the, I don't know where we bought it. I presume we bought them in the rack.
I'd be guessing as much.
You know?
But how much would that have cost them for something like that? That'd be 100 and something now, like for
14.50 or something for the day.
And what would that be now, like if you were to switch that over to?
All I know is a great fucking time. I don't remember everything. It was brilliant. We did have a good day because I tell you, where the fuck did we end up that day? I think I met Molly and John O'D above and Balls Bridge in Bellamy's.
Like the O'D's from the pub in town.
Like. John used to go to Dublin there. He'd be going up to see his brother or whatever. Like, and Molly be probably up there anyway, meeting friends and shit. Like, you know, I'm really sure I met him after that.
Yeah.
No, I could be getting the gigs around. Could have been ZZ Top.
Well, who was it that headlined that then? Was it Sabbath headlining that, or was it someone else?
It was a Black Sabbath Tea Party. That's what was advertised.
Ah, right.
So you had Black Sabbath, Motorhead, Anvil.
Did you get to see him with the Stonehenge thing by any chance? Sabbath.
Jesus, we were lucky to get to see him at all. The only amount is I think is knocked now and rebuilt. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's just a big soccer pitch.
No, because the I know.
You saw the photograph inside the room, like.
Yeah.
It says it all, doesn't it?
I'll have to throw that up on the show's Instagram after, because it's actually gas. Excuse me. There's a photo of a German thrash band. Is it Destruction? And they're in front of a Spare in Germany. I think it's around the same time. I think
Jesus,
it's around 83,
that's
84.
actually a photograph missing that because Tommy Copeland bought a bottle of wine, but he wouldn't throw it over chips or dead bodies. It was fucking horrible. We all took a swig out of it. I think he upset us for the day. And Tommy drank it, and we didn't call him Iron Belly for nothing.
Well, what age were you when that gig happened?
Oh Jesus, I suppose 17 or 18.
That's
now I'll tell you a gas one about Daily Mount. Shawnee Malai, he's in New York now, right? He used to gig around town there with all the lads that be doing different gigs, like I was saying to you earlier. He bought the Phoenix annual, and we were above in the heights sitting down smoking fags, as we did back in the day. And he says, "Hey guys, you're in the magazine." And he shows me, "Fuck me enough, we bought the magazine."
Oh, was that
we're all in the magazine, yeah. We're all in the magazine, playing our fresh air guitars and doing what you do, like, you know.
Shit, you were. You've shown me that before. That photo was out there. I
went into the front of the Irish Press. If I was working out the Gart Road at the time, I will not mention the name of the company for tax reasons. But my boss told me I was in the Irish Press, and you see this fella punching the air with his fist. I said, "Oh, Mother of Jesus Christ Almighty! Here we go, the mother and father."
I was going to ask that. What did Nana and Mickey and Phil think of that?
Exactly, Fearsome Press now, you know.
But the whole thing with, like, because you know, Grandad was a big treadhead, as you said. Nana was as well. What did they think of all that?
Honest, they were country people, and their kind of thing was what they were doing, like, you know. They'd be listening to Kira McMahon and all that, and I'd be inside the sitting room then with my pie stereo, my headphones. I could be listening to Motorhead or something, Bomber or whatever the case would be. I could be listening to a bit of Gallagher, do you know? And you know, of course, Jesus, we had tapes of Deep Purple and stuff like that, and that was kind of our bread and butter. Like, Bosley Cooley didn't introduce me to Judas Priest and that, you know, and Boz did a good old ear for music. No, in all fairness, he's a die-hard fan. Like, I'd say he's most albums and that now, but Point of Entry.
Yeah, great album.
I can remember listening to that above in his sitting room one morning during the week. I don't know, were we Mitch in school or were we off for What's the Story? And I kind of said, "Fuck it, yeah, I like the sound of that. But of course, all his sisters are all dead albums. Couldn't do anything to him because they knew they'd kill him.
That anniversary only came up as well. Point of Entry's anniversary. I want to say it was 40 years, but I could have that totally arse now.
It was 42. I'm not sure. Like, it could be 42.
What year was that came out? Was that 81? I'm nearly certain it was 81. I could have that tits up, but I know its anniversary came up very recently. That was in February.
I think I saw that on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of scrolling down through stuff, and I was kind of saying to myself, Jesus Christ, where did the time go? Because the time did go fast.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like we used to go to the SFX there. I seen Accept up there. I seen Wasp, Dio, Marillion. Marillion was a great gig too.
That's one I need to get into, and people have been saying it for years. They're like, I've listened to one or two tracks. They're very proggy for me. I'm not a big prog head. Like,
I know, obviously you're not. No, you just like it nice and loud.
No, I like
But
Focus and stuff. Do you know?
Marillion, I liked Fish. He was a Scottish guy there. He sang music, and he kind of sang from the heart and all that. But I mean, is it Steve Hogarth? I could be getting this wrong now. But they have a new vocalist now the last couple of years, and they have a massive fan base globally. Marillion are huge, which is a good thing. Like, a lot of people said they're only good for a couple of albums, 5 album wonders. Bullshit. They're still at it. Do you know? Which is a great testament. Look, it's like Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
They're around only for 50 years.
Yeah.
Rolling Stones.
What was I going to say about Marillion? I remember reading there, Jesus, I'd say it's probably 2 or 3 years ago. I remember seeing somewhere that Marillion, or it could have been some form of Marillion, you know yourself now, so many artists now, like, like Grim Reaper go around as Steve Grimmett's Grim Reaper now, so it could have been like such and such as Marillion. Yeah. But I saw they were touring with Arthur Brown as support. And I thought, no, that'd be a mad one out to see.
He was dead.
No, he's very old though. He's 80.
Very old.
Yeah.
I'd say he's well into his 70s now. He has to be.
It's amazing though, like, they always mention him in documentaries about the influence he had on metal and stuff like that, and you wouldn't believe it to hear it, but then you hear him from the horse's mouth. Like, Bruce Dickinson took influence from him, Rob Halford took influence from him. Do you know what I mean? Like he was way before his time, Arthur Brown. I would say anyway. Like, I know it's kind of random now. I've started on that tangent.
It's not really I mean, you'd be surprised the way influences go. Like, I mean, you would say the likes of Lizzie there, Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. That is such a smooth track.
Yeah.
it came from such a place when you think about it. Like, it's fuck, you'd expect that to come from someplace in New York. Like, they had it going, and a good, good musicians, good chemistry. They got a nice thing going there. That's just one track, and you can go down through Lizzie or any one of the bands, and you'll find it could be a bump in the road, but it could have been a great influence to them. Like, they might have pulled in someplace. With the likes of sax in there and stuff like that. Like, I mean, even Motorhead, they're using Motorhead on tracks now, say, for ads and everything.
Yeah. Never thought. Would you have ever thought you'd seen that? Like, no.
I was actually surprised. Even I remember Motorhead were on the Young Ones one night. I was watching below in Waterford. I was down there in college in the RTC, about 84, and we were watching the Young Ones.
And the next thing, pull your mic a little closer to there.
They busted through the wall playing a number, like, it was brilliant. But I mean, you don't get the stuff like that now, because Rick, what's his name? He's dead too. He's dead a while. There's only a couple of them left now, Nigel Planer and one or two other. I can't fucking think of their name now.
Oh, from the Young Ones? Yeah. There, 2 of them are dead. One of them was actually in EastEnders there last year, do you remember?
Go away.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You played Vivian.
Yeah, but you know something? You mentioned it there. You told me this maybe 4 or 5 years ago when you went to see Wasp that time. That Blackie threw a poster into the crowd.
Oh, he did, yeah.
Would you want to tell that story just for people listening?
It's not a story to tell. I think it's just dealing with a lot of arseholes. You throw a life-size poster. No, everyone was G'd up for the gig. Yeah. Everyone was G'd up.
Put that closer to you. Yep, spot on.
They were either drunk or they were on yokes or whatever the equipment was. And they were all pumping mad for road.
Yeah.
Big time. Because these guys were hardcore as far as we were concerned. They just tore into it. No, it was a brilliant gig. But he was going crazy and he was throwing shit out into the audience, all kind of like t-shirts and stuff like that. You know the way the big grab goes. But this fella turned around and he boxed a chick for the yoke. Well, by Jesus, the last time he ever boxed anyone.
Yeah.
Because he got nicely tufted away into the crowd. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of shit you don't need. Like, it was
Oh,
like
yeah,
up
no.
as he topped there, this fella was out of his head and I was going through the checks. And he actually fell into a puddle of water, he was so out of it. And I remember pulling him up and sorting him out. Jesus, he was lucky. He could have inhaled the water and died. I mean, it's that simple,
yeah,
like, you
yeah.
know. Like, I can't be talking because I used to get absolutely malafusters. We'd be drinking special brew and cider.
Yeah.
Snack bites.
Oh.
Oh, when I think about it now. Oh, dear God.
I skip when I hear about like he's sleeping in the height and everything. Do you know? Was that
Sure,
when the real
look at
Yeah.
It was a different country, different
Oh
times.
yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You couldn't do nothing like that now.
Oh Jesus, no.
No, there'd be too many homeless baiting you up and say, get off my pitch. Hey man, what are you doing there? Get out of there.
I'm just going to come over there and pull your mic a little bit closer.
Hang on a second, now, is this a bit better? Is it? Yeah.
No, see this part of it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just see what I'm doing now. There you go. There you go.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
better.
we just keep it a small bit closer to.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry about that.
No, just so you can be heard, because do you know what I mean? I don't think people want to hear me talking about myself. I think they want to hear yours. I think they're listening in for your stories more than mine. Like, do you know what I mean?
I can't say too much. My wife's in the other room.
That's one actually new. When you started going out with Mam, did you ever get to drag her to anything before you had the kids?
That sounds terrible. Evita?
No, but anything gig wise,
no?
no?
She used to come to the banner with me, yeah.
Yeah.
We used to go to the banner. We went to Dublin to a couple of gigs that she had to go to.
Oh well, of course she'd get to pick.
Yeah.
But do you know
The
what?
Queen, yeah.
I never.
I've been a fan about Shelley and stuff, but that's not wrong with it. Yeah, it wouldn't be your team. But actually, do you know who was actually quite good was Cher?
Oh, God.
I swear to God, I'm not ashamed to say, but I actually enjoyed the gig. I know it's a gay fest, but that's neither here nor there.
This is
It
your
was
coming
just
out party
brilliant.
now.
Everybody could be an Andy Pendy for a couple of hours. Sorry, Andy Pendy. You could be a Cupid stunt too if you want. That's your own business. I know, but seriously,
God.
no. It was just the whole stage, the management, the way it was done. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, did you know you pay a pretty penny for it? Like, do you know what I mean?
Do,
but you get it back because, like you said, the show and everything
you
is.
You have to know because you can't go half-arsed into it.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, like even there today, you know, I was flicking down through YouTube, and Pat McManus there from Mama's Boys was on, and he was playing the electric fiddle. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous. Now he does a couple of casts there on a regular basis, and I try and catch up. Now Johnny Cuneen in the market there, Shamey's brother.
Yeah.
Big fan as well. He follows the stuff there and the whole lot. Like, you know, he works for Lodge and Wall and Gasman. But into the sounds as well. Like, Newmarket will be another good rock town as well. Like, do you know what I mean?
Sure, isn't that where Brian Downey gigged somewhere in Clare before the pandemic? Loads of it. Dave was still alive and
out in Gort, I think.
Yeah, Rabbit went after that. I don't know.
Shane gets still on the gigs now compared to me. Like, you know,
I didn't even know that was on. I was raging. I heard about it after.
There would have been a couple of bits and pieces on there. I mean, Rory Gallagher played below on 6 Mile Bridge in the hall down there, the dance hall. Yeah,
but he'd gigged everywhere as well, though. He was an absolute workhorse, like, you know.
Like, he did the show band circuit and stuff like that as well. Do you know what I mean? Like Petty Conn's below there, Station Road where Madden's is now. There's a spring floor there for ballroom dancing and the whole lot. Like if there was a disco down there on a Saturday or Sunday night, everyone would be out on the floor dancing. The DJ be doing his head in because he's fucking hopping up and down. Like he napped digital, you know what I mean? Like he couldn't run it off. He couldn't run it off his computer. And Mickey Mac from 2FM.
But what, like, here's one now for you now. And this is one question that will be asked to anyone who comes on for this type of segment in the show is internet will push that to the side, right?
Okay, fair enough.
So you would have gotten into all this crack when you were a teenager and everything like that.
I would have been influenced by the likes of, I'd be straight up, you know, the likes of Bucks Portal over in Davignon. Bucks, brilliant guy. I don't know if I've introduced him, you probably met him over there.
Is he the
Interval Heller were playing with him there.
Is he the fella with the glasses and the short grey hair?
He's
at
a
everything.
legend.
He's at everything.
Did you ever meet any of the fellas? Did you ever meet Dusty or Liam Hines, no?
These are probably heads now that I'll have met him several times.
Lenny Sexton anyway, obviously.
Oh yeah, Lenny Sexton. I'll tell you one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for me, right? Lenny Sexton, like you mentioned at the start, there's people giving away their record collections, right? Lenny Sexton gave me a copy of Possessed 7 Churches. It's the first death metal album ever, right? He gave me his copy of that because he was getting rid of records, right? Inside that record, right? Because I'm a fucker for this. I love this when I can find them. Do you know when you buy records secondhand, or when you would have been buying them new? So do you know when there'd be like the mailing list, and it'd be like, do you know, pay X amount of pound this way, write down the code, and they'll send you off the merch. So you know, you might get 3 records for £10 or something like that.
Send you out some sort of a newsletter, blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
there was all of those inserts were still in the record. I'd say I don't know if you. Yeah. See, that was the thing. I don't know. Did he play it that much or whatever? Because the record was nearly brand new. It felt like it was mint, but it definitely was from the time because you could tell with the inserts, like they were the original inserts inside it. They were on like newspaper style paper, like. But yeah, no, those older heads are all sound. I went off with all them to see Slayer back in Cork.
Brother, God rest him, Liam. They used to go. They were in England as well, like you know. Dusty's a mason, like, but my God, the collection of music and stories. That fella should be sat down someplace with a couple of pints and let him talk.
Sure, he can come onto this.
Well, maybe you can do it, yeah. Because that man has great stories.
Yeah.
The adventures of the crack in town was back in the late 70s, early 80s and that. No, it was a different town. Things are completely different to what they're now like.
Yeah.
Do you know, I mean, there's no saying it wasn't a peaceful town.
2 seconds. I need to fix your microphone 1 second now. I know exactly what's wrong with this.
I have to do something to contact.
No, you didn't do nothing. Hang on. Second. There we go. So you just need to move your chair over small bit here.
This one?
There we go. And you just need to talk into this part of it.
Okay.
So 2 seconds now.
You have it turned off, have you?
I have not. No, it's still recording, but sure I can edit it out. 1 second now.
And you see, you had...
Wait.
Okay, you're still there, yeah?
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Start that again. Sorry, I had to fix your microphone.
Like just saying there about Dusty Hines, like Dusty's a man with great stories, into great music. The fabulous Alex Harvey band, himself and his brother introduced me to them. Oh my fucking God! Look at this guy. He done a couple of albums. He got a heart attack or something. I don't know what the fuck happened. I can't remember. Back in the 80s. Jesus H Christ, that's a great couple of albums. Dr. Feelgood. Brilliant. Jesus Christ, there's a ton of stuff. No, I have to include Paul Hayes as well. You've never met Paul. Paul is in Spain at the moment now.
Yeah.
He used to play with Diesel Duo, which was Hot Ice. One of the Costler brothers or whoever was missing, and he used to fill in guitar. Why isn't that? Paul is over. Paul would have been our Dave Fenning, our go-to man for music.
Yep.
He lived above in Gallus, up the road from me, and John Hanrahan. John Hanrahan, now I have some of his albums upstairs. There are some of his AC/DC and stuff like that. John's above in Kilvara. Mad into Gallagher. He won tickets to go to Gallagher above in Ferry House or something like that. What's the place we saw AC/DC above in?
Punchestone.
Punchestone, yeah. He won tickets in the Sun of the World and I couldn't go with him. I was in hospital with a chest infection. I was fucking so sickened.
Yeah.
Do you know, that's where the big, do you know the big one I have in the room?
Yeah.
With Phil in it
and
Rory Gallagher. That's the gig.
Oh, Jesus.
That's the gig, man.
Yeah.
That was the fucking one, and of course, I was like sick.
Yeah.
I'm fucking sick now. Sick of that, like, you know, but that's the way it goes.
Sure, here, since we're on the topic of gigs, you mentioned it there. You've seen Wasp, you've seen Dio, you've seen Michael Scheckner.
Yeah, there's a lot of gigs I'd like to have gone to and I couldn't get them.
Yeah. What's the one that you missed outside of that you wish you could have gone to?
I would love to have gone to see Zeppelin over in London.
Was it? Oh, the one in like 2012, was it?
Yeah.
That was an expensive gig. I've read it, yeah.
Shit, I did fucking sort of kidney for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what
It's
I mean?
great,
I got to
though.
see the Blue Oyster Cult.
That was brilliant. That was,
that to me was kind of like, wow. That was like climbing the mountain.
Only Irish gig they ever played.
I know, it was worth it.
Yeah, amazing, wasn't it? All that time.
I mean, these guys are all now.
Yeah.
Pensioners.
They brought out a record there late last year as well, around August. It's fantastic. It's genuinely brilliant. You'd love it. It's really long though. It's about an hour and a half in length, but it's brilliant.
They're into concept as well.
Yeah.
A lot of rock bands did that. They did concept albums and the whole lot. Like, you know, it wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but you get into it.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be like me now with Pink Floyd. I never liked Pink Floyd when I was younger. I have great respect for them now and I listen to them and I enjoy them. You know, sometimes you're better off to leave stuff on the side and keep going forward.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I suppose one of my other favourite bands would be outside King's X and stuff like that, and the Horse Tips and that. very fond of the New York band Living Colour. I just
Oh,
think they're
yeah.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, you got me into them. The Times, is it Times Up?
I really
Yeah.
think, and I mean, like, there's nothing I can't say bad about them. I just think that they're worth their shit.
Yeah.
And they should be supported more. And I reckon some record companies should give them a kick in there to say, get out there and do something.
I was listening to, they were on that wrestler Chris Jericho. He has a podcast, and this was about 4 years ago. I was listening to this. They were on it. They've such individually they've such interesting careers as musicians. I know their bass player was the bass player for Mick Jagger when he would do solo gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
But they are together so long. When they were signed to their first record, which I'm nearly certain was with EMI, the label, like, you know, they would be under hard rock or funk. That's what I would put them under. The section they were in the label, you know, they were in a massive skyscraper building. They had to go to like the black artist section. They had a section just for black artists. But it, you know, it didn't matter what style of music they were playing. That was where they were going. Yeah, and I find that it's so mad in hindsight. Do you know what I mean? Like
racism.
Oh, yeah, well, full on, like, do you know what I mean?
Fuck them.
But
these guys put the fucking F back into funk and other things. These guys are brilliant.
They're so, like, they
make music look effortless.
Yeah.
They can just get out there and jam and it's fucking gorgeous.
And all the wheels work together with it.
People should appreciate that, but they don't.
Do you know what's going against them as well, which is awful, is if you turn around now and you try and get someone into them, the wrestler, I know he's coming back to wrestling, but they're kind of entwined with that now. The wrestler CM Punk used their song Cult of Personality as his theme song. And it is a great track, but if you go to someone, oh, you should listen to this band, they'll be like, oh no, I don't want to know because that's only from the wrestling. And it's such as they did a great cover of Biggie Smalls' Who Shot You, and it's fucking amazing. It's brilliant. It's great. It's well worth checking out on the Chromecast after this. It's it's great. They brought it out as a single, and I think they re-released it last year in the wake of the Black Lives Matter stuff and everything like that. But it's well worth checking out. So we are have to talk about gigs that you missed. Here's one for you. What's the worst gig you've ever been at?
I can't honestly say I was at a bad gig. I've been lucky.
All right, well, what about this then? What about?
If I've been lucky, I've been very drunk. That's not really true.
No, but what about then? Like, because you know, I've been the same boat. I've never been at a gig where the whole gig's been off, but I have seen performances where I'm like, oh, that's not great. Was there any opening bands or headline acts you've ever seen that you were kind of like?
I think we've been very lucky. Was it what you call it? That played for AC/DC, not Fortunate Sons. What's the name of them? I can't think of it now.
Oh, I think you're thinking of Rival Sons. That was Black Sabbath.
Sorry, no, but they actually played for AC/DC as well.
Did they?
Yeah.
Was that not?
Teresa was above the gig with me.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of Punch Sound. I wasn't at that one. No.
They were actually quite good.
Yeah.
I was well surprised, and you know something? I was nicely I was at Bon Jovi there with Leanne.
That's 2003.
Telsa came out now. They didn't do a whole lot for me because it was fucking travelling. I suppose it was kind of pissed off and kind of just didn't get into it, which is kind of not fair on them. Like,
yeah.
You know? But I mean, they're around a long time as well.
Together over 30 years, like.
Yeah. That's fair going, like.
Yeah.
So you still have to push the units, like, to sell albums.
Yeah, and see that doesn't really exist anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? It's all about streaming and stuff like that too. But that's.
I think Spotify has killed a lot of things too.
Yeah, it's an awful business model, and the worst part about it is nearly every second person you know has a Spotify account because they get it with their phone package or something. Spotify are making money, and they just will not dig it out. Like, but that's the label's fault. I don't really think Spotify are only able to get away with it because
artists have a choice too.
It's easy advertising though. That's the sad thing.
You don't even see picture discs anymore. You might see one there now for a 40th anniversary or something like that. Maybe Jethro Tull might bring out Aqualung was whatever age was there.
Exactly,
you know what I'm saying? Something like that. You know, which is great. And I still think they're a very underrated band.
I only got into them this past year, I won't lie. I could not get into them for
there's
ages.
other stuff there that you probably won't get into, some of the earlier stuff. Like Broadsword and the Beast and stuff like that and Up Along. You know, there's some great stuff there.
I think how I ended up getting into them is there's a lot of like European bands from like Sweden and Norway at the moment that are
the Nordic stuff, aren't you?
Oh yeah, big time. I'd live there if I could, except a pint. No, a pint. A pint. Yeah, pint costs about €10 out there, so it isn't for me. Like,
if you're drunk driving, they take a third of the price of your car off as a fine. So you're better off to drive a crock. But if you're driving something under about $3,000.
That's how to get away with drunk driving here now on the podcast.
It's not really how you get away with it. You're going to pay for it anyway.
No, but there's a lot of bands from there and like from Germany stuff that are like, and it seems to be a new thing that are actually really influenced by Tull because you can hear it in the sound, like, you know. But here's one now because we talked about them. Actually, getting back to that point you made about Spotify and stuff, isn't it a sickener now? Like a band like Rival Sons, they opened for Sabbath, they opened for AC/DC as well. So they've been on 2 major world tours. They will never have a platinum selling record because of the day and age they live in, and they would otherwise. They will never, because
isn't it? No, but I mean, you work that hard and you kind of say, "Fuck it, that'd be nice," wouldn't it?
Yeah, but do you know what they're getting? They're just getting all they're going to end up being able to do then is like they have an audience. They might have an audience of like blues rock fans that are going to like go out to see them anyway. I'd go out to see them in the morning. I know you would as well.
You could be talking 40 plus would be probably more their friends will say
yeah,
the crowd, depending.
That's it, and like it's the awful thing. It's good for them, but I don't know. It's not the best. Is like the crowd then, like people are gonna, if they see him advertised for Dolan's, people who might have seen him for AC/DC that don't go to a gig every once in a while, they'll go to him like, Jesus, I was at the one gig I've gotten to go to the last 5 years they were open, and I go on and see that now, and it's bad, I think, for me, because I kind of thinking, oh Jesus, now they're only going because that, but then at the same time I'm thinking out loud because then I'm kind of like, well, sure, then they'll find out more about the local scene doing that, like, you know.
He's on a waffle. He's on a waffle.
Just slaps across the table.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'll get my head on straight now. Best gig you've ever been at?
Oh my God, that's totally unfair. That is totally unfair.
I know the Blue Oyster Cult one is up high there, but
I would say probably Deep Purple, Perfect Strangers.
were you on that? You saw that tour?
Yeah, Wembley, in the UK.
Jesus,
that was just 38 special supporting. And I remember going up in the tube to where we were going, and I drank these 2 massive cans of German beer. They were like Duck a Mile cans. They were fucking huge.
Oh,
when I got out,
yeah,
my
yeah.
fucking kidneys were so full up. I had to go up and wash 2 cars. Oh my God, I'll never forget it. I just couldn't get out of the train. Do you know the way you kind of say, oh my God.
Yeah.
Woo.
I never knew you got to see Blackmore live. That's killing me now. I never knew that.
That was brilliant. That was a big fucking deal. Like,
that's a great album.
I think Billy Reynolds' cousin Chris Coughlin, you wouldn't know him now, he's in the Pike.
No.
He's married over in the UK. I think we met him the same night. No, he can correct me for that. But I'm not really sure because who else did we meet that night? Jesus, there was the Killer come up with us or that. He may have. I can't fucking remember now. I know Nesh was with me. And Leighton was with me. Who else is in it? Could have been Gary Nolan there as well. Tony Schnatz, he was there because we're probably staying with him. That him or Bosley had said at the time. Jesus Christ, that's a lifetime ago.
Yeah, that
was
been
a great gig. That was a great buzz. All that air was electric.
Yeah.
It was electric. No, it's a good album as well, Perfect Strangers.
Yeah.
Do you know
it is a great album. Not a lot of people like it though. I don't know why. A lot of people overlook that. Like,
look at with Deep Purple, you've got 1, 2, 3, whatever, 4, you know, and they're all saying, I've heard with this one and that one, the whole lot. Okay, Richie Blackmore thought he was Deep Purple, but Deep Purple was able to survive without him.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. Because, like, poor old John Lord, the rest of him, he's dead now. You know what I mean? And it's tough. I think Don Airy's filling the keyboards in there. Now, Don Airy is an excellent keyboard player. Who else is Don Airy with? Was he with Rainbow as well?
Oh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
I can remember he was a lot younger now. Don Airy's getting on. He's a good age now, but an excellent musician.
To look across the table.
No, just keep going there now because I'm kind of going off there on a little bit of a tangent.
So you're grand. Sure, look, that's the whole reason I do this. I go on tangents every week on this show. Like the one for you to check out. I don't know if I ever sent it to you on Facebook before, since we mentioned Purple and everything like that, and we actually mentioned kind of orchestral stuff at the start of this.
Yeah.
There was a tribute to John Lord gig in around 2012 or 13, right? And it was all the lads in Purple that organised it, and there was it was an all-star thing. I think it was in Webley Hall. And it's Bruce Dickinson and Glenn Hughes singing Burn with the London Symphony Orchestra. Oh
my God.
It's fucking amazing.
That was gorgeous. No, that was really gorgeous. You know something? I could feel myself kind of getting emotional.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of an old soft fool under it all.
Oh, but I wouldn't blame him because
because he was such a gentleman. I never met him. You swear I did meet him. I would if I ever want to have a pint with someone, I'd love to have had a pint with
Oh,
Ian Gillan.
yeah. Oh,
You know, because
you wouldn't have gotten home with Ian Gillan. That's the thing. If you would have gone for a pint with Ian Gillan, you'd be out for 2 weeks. That's the way.
He look what he's getting on now. He can't do that shit anymore.
But that's the whole reason he ended up in Sabbath. He literally went for pints with Tony Iommi.
I know, but was the manager meant the deal?
No, he woke up the next morning. His manager called him and he was like, "Did you get on grand last night?" And he goes, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Was Brown." And he goes, "Oh, you're the new singer for Black Sabbath."
So move the microphone over this way a second, okay?
Oh, yeah, you're grand.
I'm looking for a refreshment.
To give you context to this now, we're in a pretty adequately sized room, but the space that we're actually recording is quite small. We're literally stuck behind a fridge. You can probably hear all the cheddar cheese and everything going about now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the quick fire round. This is basically a thing that I'm going to do on every episode of this, where I'm going to ask whoever's on 5 questions and it's instant responses. And I'm retaking this one because your darling wife and my mother came into the room and we had to re-record it because there's noise in the background. So I'm going to add a few questions to this one.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Yeah, we're going to go for 10.
All right.
And they're random, the random ones, okay. Okay. David Coverdale or Glenn Hughes?
Oh, you dirty. All right, Glenn Hughes.
Ozzy or Dio?
Ozzy.
Horselips or Lizzie?
Horselips.
Purple or Sabbath?
Oh, that is so unfair. You're really being a bollocks, you know that. Purple.
Okay. What are the ones? I had a list of these down. I'm trying to remember them offhand. Whitesnake or Rat?
Whitesnake.
The look of relief on your face, like, oh, thank
don't
fuck.
worry, I went through the Buffont rock part as well, like, you know.
Ozzy. No, I'll ask you a few album ones because I haven't really asked you many album questions at all. No. Rainbow Rising or In Rock by Purple?
Oh my god. Well, I suppose my go-to album, would be Rainbow Rising.
Okay. Favorite heavy metal album of all time?
Oh shit, I like a lot of stuff. That would be unfair. That'd be like me inside in a kid shop now.
Here's a nicer way to reward that, so right.
Okay.
So we're excluding hard rock in this, right? So if you were there, let's say if you were in Dave Woodford's shoes, you're on the record rack. Young fella comes in.
One of my favorite albums.
What would you recommend to someone getting into metal? What would be your one album that comes to mind?
God.
That goes, this encapsulates everything. That's a hard one now.
That is a hard one. Back in Black AC/DC.
It's hard rock.
Huh?
It's hard rock. It's not metal. It has to be a metal album.
A metal album.
Yeah.
Except Balls to the Wall.
Yeah. Worst album cover of all time though, the hairy thigh with the fist beside it.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. Or Witchfinder General.
I worry for your man. What's his name?
I worry for anyone that produces album covers.
No, but what's your man's name? The fucking fella who sang for Accept. They have a new singer now. He had UDO as well.
Dick Schneider.
The
new fella?
No, the first. What's his name?
Yeah, Dick Schneider or something like that.
Oh God. Yeah, he
It is. Look at Google it there.
He's like some of like even like you know like.
That's not how he does it. You know what I mean? He's got such a gravelly voice. No, he's old. No, that.
Oh yeah, he'll be tipping 70 soon. Definitely.
I wouldn't say he's tipping that. Like I'd say he's definitely pensionable. Like.
There's a great photo I need to show you after this. It's actually all of them at like 16 or 17. They just formed a band and they have like lipstick and everything on the striped t-shirts.
I know.
Trying to be the New York Dolls.
That's all I would say about that.
Oh, we better throw a few more questions into this now with the rapid fire round. Okay. What's the drunkest you've ever been at a gig?
Drunkest I've ever been at a gig? Probably the TV club.
TV club?
Yeah, that's above in Harcross Street in Dublin. That's where Hughie and John Rat was.
Oh.
I had to go through a bottle of tequila and a load of other bits and pieces.
Oh, Jesus. I have to fear up my spine even hearing that now. Oh, Jesus.
My kidneys kind of go around the back of me there when they hear this. No, don't tell them that story. It's not fair.
This is kind of a nice enough one, I think, to cap it off with, right?
The nicest one in the world?
No. The since you've been going to gigs, like you've been going to gigs now since the 80s. We're in the
I
20s.
know, but I mean, I wouldn't be as regular as I'd like to have been.
Well, no, but that's circumstance.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way.
You
But
got in the way.
yeah, I'm making up for it now, so that's all right.
All
The
Thinks he's getting off of this.
have you noticed, like, what have you noticed now firsthand, the change in like Irish and rock here, or Irish metal and rock, sorry, on the island of Ireland from when you got into it to now?
It's completely different now.
There's more of a local scene. I know that's a big thing
Yeah,
anyway.
I know there is, but I mean, it's kind of gone a different direction altogether. You know, like there was a band there years ago called Dumpy's Rusty Nuts and Bolts. Kind of, I mightn't have got the name right now, but they were always in Kerrang and that. You know, this guy was a big fat fucking gingery whore. He used to play music for years, and he used to do all the gigs up and down the highways. And you know, he was an institution. And like, I suppose when I think of heavy metal and that, I don't think of Rammstein, even though I love Rammstein. I don't see him in that particular context.
Yeah.
But you know, they have their own thing there as well. I enjoy them too, like, you know. But I mean, we'll say heavy metal, what it was then and what it is now is completely different. It's a bit like, how's the best way to describe it? It's kind of, Revolving for me is kind of grown up. There was a lot of shit happening there, and we were kind of involved in it. Remember, the Russians are still going to fucking nuke us when we were young lads. You never had to suffer from that.
I don't know how we've gotten from that.
You never knew what it was like to be suffering from mutually assured destruction.
I don't know how we got from.
We did,
How
it
has
just
this
happened.
changed?
It just happened.
I
No, but I know where you're coming
to
from.
nuclear
Yeah, but
devastation.
I'm getting back to it.
Yeah, no, we get back to it. We get back to
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, the biggest problem in this country is bands don't get a chance to articulate them. What are the girls I'm thinking of at the moment? They're from Buck and Belfast.
Oh, they were on the late last night. It's like the Montreux. They were brilliant.
I'd
I'd never heard of them before.
I
that.
will tell you something. If they're looked after, they're brilliant.
Oh,
they've got a connection between the three of them.
Yeah.
And it's fucking brilliant.
They've great chemistry.
That to me is good music.
Their tour is already nearly sold out. The tickets
But
haven't even gone on sale
this
yet.
thing, heavy metal doesn't exist anymore because it's all these different fucking genres. As the man said there that made the documentary and got the PhD in it.
Oh, Sam Dunn with Metal Evolution. Yeah.
Bang, 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 bang. You can put them all into their own little files. I think rock and roll is good. Look at, if you listen to Gimme Shelter when you were a kid and listen to it now, it's like a fine wine. It's a fucking brilliant, ageless song.
Yeah.
You can't make it any better. It's just fucking perfect. Now, that's just one example. There are several others, which is great. Do you know what I mean?
I think that thing is though, but like Dara Kelly made that point before. He was just like, it should just be, everything should just be metal and rock, and you know that should be the only thing. But my point is with that though is like, right, you go into a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And you know the way you've starters, you've mains, you've desserts.
Yeah.
And if they're not broken up like that, and you don't know what's what.
You're equating it to food now. That's
Yeah, but think, if you're there and you're hungry.
I can't call you a fat cunt now, can I?
No, but like, if you're
I will in 10 years' time.
if you're hungry and you're there and you want a dinner,
I know.
do you know what I mean?
It's kind of like me saying, look,
There's reasons for it. That's sort of the point I'm making. There's reasons for it being divided up. Like.
it's like you start off with Kansas and you end up having Oreo Speedwagon for dessert.
No, but you know, it makes it handier because, like, you know, if you love Sabbath and you want to hear more bands that sound like Sabbath, there's the Doom section.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know?
I'm here coming from there on that one, yeah. And there's other bands that have kind of pulled away and brought that little bit of Sabbath with them and put their own stuff to it. Sabbath are an institution. Sabbath are really like a show band. If you, like, when you watch them over in Dublin, right, they did everything like a show band did. They went out and they played for the hour and a half or the 2 hours, whatever it was. They dropped the old balloons out of the ceiling. Your man went off there and he played this ridiculous fucking 10-minute fucking drum solo. He must have been a cramp in his fucking key stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They went out and they had a dump and they brushed their teeth and they flossed and they combed their hair and came back out again. That's what they did.
Yeah.
It's like a show band. And that's the way the lads cut their craft. They were going around in a transit van around Northern England and the whole that before anyone took them serious. Like,
that was actually the period between the debut and Paranoid. They were in Germany all that time playing 3 gigs a night in
like
rock bars.
The Beatles
Yeah,
did Hamburg and
the
all
exact
that, like,
same. The exact
Do you know
same.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a well beaten track. Like when we were in Berlin, myself and Teresa there a few years ago for Tina's birthday, like we met a crowd from Hull there, a 5-piece, and they were a cover band. These guys were brilliant. They were able to cut their tunes, like, you know, they were good.
Yeah.
So they were doing that circuit as well. So it's kind of like following the Antelopes. They're following this trail that's been cut there 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's still there. Okay, it's probably fading now. It's not as, we'll say, as, I'm looking for the right word. It's not as prominent as it was.
Presents.
But that's the way it is.
Are you going to put the kettle on? You are? Okay.
We're now
No,
finishing
Grant.
up.
I'll wrap this up because Mam's
in the corner,
just
please.
hold off to press the button on the kettle for 2 seconds and wrap it up here. I'm sorry now, but I'm sorry you're after getting interrupted. We'll wrap things up now because we've actually been talking for nearly 90 minutes, and you're always welcome to come on the show again at any point whenever you want.
In my house.
Yeah.
Of course I'm fucking welcome.
My ESP fucking power this show.
That's it, man. Oh, okay.
Is there anything you want to say to the people listening at home? Is there anyone you want to shout out actually as well?
Look,
Before
there's
I wrap
loads
up?
of people. Dusty Hines, Bucks Purtle, Paul Hayes, Shawnee Maloney, Archie Meany, Jerry Malloy. Jesus, if I forgot Jerry Malloy, life wouldn't be worth living. Billy Gilfine. Jesus, there's loads of them there. Look at it. We've got a town full of great characters. You'll be too young to know a lot of them, but sure, you'll be introduced to them as we go along. But I'll tell you, when you get the likes of Kevin Layden, The Nest, and a few more of them, and I'll tell you, it gets better as it goes along.
Yeah, I'm waiting. There's stories there that need to be told, and
Definitely, they'll probably hang me when they get a chance.
Oh, that's the whole point of this, like, do you know what I mean? Okay, and that was my chat with my owlad, Mr. Alan Tubbsy Casey, and I really hope you enjoyed that. We had great crack making that as well, and without a doubt, Tubbs is going to be back on the show in some form or another down the line. We might do you know what would be a great one? I think at some point me and Tubbs might sit down and do a Deep Purple's ranking video. Rank our favourite Deep Purple albums from best to worst. How does that sound? If you like the sounds of that, give us a message, give us a thumbs up, give us all that crack, let us know what you think. Anyway, and you're probably wondering why was that interview, it was kind of awkwardly cut a little bit short. My mother, God love her, walked in. We were recording this in our family kitchen, and she walked in to boil the kettle in the middle of the interview, so we decided to cut it a bit short. But sure, look, as you could hear there, that was 90 minutes worth of me and Tubbs chatting away. I could easily do another 2 episodes that with that. He has 101 stories. Like I said, we had great crack recording that. And I'm always happy to have Tubbs on the show, whether it's on this or the radio show in any form. It's always good crack. It's always good for a chat. Anyways, that is almost it for this week's episode of the From the Depths podcast. Like I said, the only housekeeping I have to do, if you want to support the show in any way, you can do so by following us on Facebook. That is at From the Depths Metal, or at From the Depths Metal Radio. You'll find us there, and on Instagram it is at From the Depths Metal. As well as that, like I mentioned at the start of the show, I host a weekly radio program for Wired 99.9 FM in Limerick, which is simply entitled From the Depths, and you can listen to that every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Wired 99.9 FM, and as well, you can stream the shows on Wired FM's website as well, so it's www.wiredfm.com. As well as that, most of the old episodes of the show are available on the From the Depths Mixcloud page. You can find that if you go to our Instagram page. The link is in the bio. You'll find all the links to our YouTube, our Spotify, our Mixcloud, all that type of crack. And as well as that, I want to give another plug. We mentioned about 2 weeks ago when the lads from Zephyr were on the podcast that they are doing a fundraiser for a Pieta house in honour of their mate Danny, who sadly died by suicide just shy of a year ago. And I just want to remind everyone that fundraiser is going to remain open until Danny's anniversary in May, so still plenty of time to donate to that if you are in a position to do so. So that is about all for this week's episode of From the Depths, and I don't know what I'm going to do next week. Will we do that Deep Purple one next week? We won't. We'll figure something out. Anyway, lads, that's been another episode of the From the Depths podcast. My name is Emmett, and I will talk to you again. Good night, and God bless.